On September 15, 2026, the Department of Homeland Security will replace the regulatory mechanism that has governed international academic life in the U.S. for decades. Under the current system, known as Duration of Status, or DS, an international student's legal stay is open-ended. Your permission to remain in the country is tied directly to the validity of your university's academic documents. The incoming framework introduces the Admit Until Date, or AUD. This creates a hard calendar deadline for your physical presence in the U.S., capped at a maximum of 4 years per entry. This policy moves the authority to determine your length of stay away from university advisors and grants it directly to Customs and Border Protection officers at the border. Maintaining legal status now requires students to monitor these federal expiration dates directly, rather than relying on the internal processing of their school. A common misconception among international scholars is that a 5-year visa stamp or a 6-year program I-20 guarantees a stay of that same length. A U.S. entry visa is strictly a travel document used to reach the border. The actual federal permission to stay is dictated by the I-94 record issued at the checkpoint. Under the new framework, a border officer can look at a PhD student's 2030 I-20 end date and still issue a restricted stay that expires much earlier. To determine that date, CBP applies a specific formula. Your stay is capped at the minimum of your program end date plus a grace period, or exactly 4 years. This formula also reduces your departure time. The legacy 60-day grace period drops to 30 days. The I-94 Admit Until Date is now the primary authority over your timeline, regardless of the dates printed on your university paperwork or visa sticker. These changes take effect on September 15, 2026. The application of the rule depends on an individual's physical location on that day. It is not applied retroactively to those already present. Students who are physically inside the United States before the deadline are placed on this path, maintaining their grandfathered status. As long as you remain in grandfathered status, you retain the legacy open-ended stay and are not subject to the 4-year cap. Remaining inside the U.S. borders is currently the only way to protect an existing academic timeline from these new federal constraints. This grandfathered protection is extremely fragile. It is completely destroyed the moment a student engages in any international travel. When a grandfathered student leaves the country and attempts to return after a trip, they are processed under the new AUD rules and stripped of their open-ended status. Even a short trip for a conference or holiday triggers this conversion. The student is forced off the protected path and assigned a fixed expiration date. There is no way to know your exact new expiration date until you are interviewed by a CBP officer at the port of entry upon your return. Starting in September 2026, international travel becomes a permanent legal status conversion for current students. This 4-year federal cap creates a direct conflict with the standard timelines of American higher education. Many advanced academic tracks, including PhD programs and medical residencies, require 5 to 7 years to complete. On this timeline, a 5-year PhD is cut off by the 4-year federal limit. At the 4-year mark, a student's legal stay expires, potentially requiring them to halt their research while still in good academic standing. The AUD framework creates a recurring legal friction point for any academic track spanning more than 4 years. To remain in the country past that 4-year cutoff, scholars must use a specific federal mechanism, the Extension of Stay, or EOS. This requires filing USCIS Form I-539, a formal application to the government for additional time beyond the date on your I-94. Your university advisor cannot resolve this by simply issuing a new I-20. The scholar must petition USCIS directly for the extension. This administrative process involves paying hundreds of dollars in filing fees and attending a mandatory biometrics appointment for fingerprinting. This application must be received by the government before your Admit Until date expires. Failing to do so can lead to a loss of status and deportation. Finishing a 5-year program now requires a direct administrative petition to USCIS, an approval process that exists outside of your university's authority. The 4-year limit also impacts post-graduation employment, specifically for those on STEM OPT tracks. A student completing a 2-year master's followed by 3 years of work authorization will spend a total of 5 years in the U.S. Since this path exceeds the 4-year cap, the professional's legal stay will often expire while they are still authorized to work. This creates a dual application requirement. Applicants must file for their work permit and their extension of stay at the same time. You are now required to submit Form I-765 for your work card and Form I-539 to secure your right to physically remain in the country. Maintaining a career in the U.S. now depends on these two parallel approvals, one for the right to work and another to physically remain in the country. The Department of Homeland Security is now shifting the academic immigration system into a more rigid administrative framework. For current students, grandfathered status is a significant protection, but it is lost the moment you cross the U.S. border. For all long-term academic and professional tracks, staying in the country past 4 years now requires direct, fee-based intervention from the federal government. The I-94 database is now the definitive record of your stay. You must monitor your federal expiration dates obsessively, as the dates on your university paperwork no longer guarantee your legal status.